everyone. How you guys doing? Can you guys hear me and the stream and everything? Does everything sound good? Hello everyone. Well, thank you Anonymous for the donation. If you guys want to have your name appear when you donate, though, make sure you hit the little checkbox, though, when you donate. Thank you. Hey, Lloyd. Does my stream sound good? Does my mic sound good? Is everything okay, guys, on the volume end? Okay. Then let me make I'm gonna make a donation now too. I always donate live whenever I do these streams. Okay, here we go. Okay, I just donated $100. And I'm going to donate a few more times during the stream. Okay. And if anybody needs help selling anything, let me know. I'll help as many people as I can out on the stream today. It sounded a bit low. Did you verify this charity? Yes, I did. It's Doctors Without Borders. It's a good charity. It's not government affiliated. Okay, we can do that possibly later. Thank you from Turkey. Well, no problem, Hassan. I'm sorry about what's going on right now. I hope that this is the least that I can do to help. Thank you, Electro Gaming, for the donation. Wow, we've already raised $659. Hi, Mario. Yeah, no more taxi missions for me. I sound low. Okay. Do I sound better now? Do I sound better now, guys? It is raining in the game. No, I haven't yet, Mario. Okay, anybody need help selling anything? Just invite me. It's going good, Nicholas. How are you, man? I bet the Brad Lore video will get over 1 million views over time. It's like the Big Smoke video. Well, thank you, man. It's already approaching 200,000 views, so it might get there. No, I'm not into football. I don't care about football. Thank you, Feline King. Thank you for the donation, man. Thank you. Thank you, George. Thanks for the donation, guys. Thank you. We're almost at $700 already raised. Anyone need help selling? If not, I'll just sell something of my own then, I guess. Thank you, Mr. Waifu. Thank you for the donation. That's nice of you, Pro, for doing this stream. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, I do these charity streams a few times a year. I do one in, I do 2 charity streams usually every year. I do one, like, right around the holidays, and then the other one I do in May. But, this one I did, I did this one 3 months early because it's the horrible thing that's happened in Turkey and Syria right now. And I thought that I'll do a charity for this. Well, hello to you and your brother Aiden. When will you stream GTA 4 again? Sometime this year. I have a few GTA 4 lore videos that I want to make. I'll eventually get to those. I'm 28 years old. Okay, oh, okay, got a noise. Okay, here we go. Oh, we're doing a charity stream, MZ, okay. I think I have, I don't know if I can turn my sound up anymore. I have it on max settings on my OBS right now. What I could do is I could do this. I could decrease the game volume. That will make it, I think, a little easier to hear me. Is that better there? Does that help? Is that better now? What's the next lore video planned? It's a San Andreas lore video. Yeah, we could do 100% completion on GTA 4. On the 100% on the 15th anniversary, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get this here. Oh, this is the police ambush. Just be aware, everyone. Police ambush. Oh, thank you, Schemo Gaming. Thank you, man. We're at $702. You guys are awesome. Thank you. I think another YouTube channel also linked my charity because it's I put it that any channel can link it, and it was already at like $400 when I started the stream. Okay. Let's get over there. Just don't go all the way to the top, Brandon. Just shoot your gun at the first cop that you see. That's all you need to do. This one here. There we go. That's it. And then just go in the subway. There's a subway right here. That's fine, Mark. Okay, here we go. There we go. There's a balloon over Canada. I heard about these Chinese spy balloons that are going all over the place. I think that today the government shot down something else, I think, another unknown flying object. Oh, thank you, Kane. Thank you for the donation. Thanks, man. This is great what you're doing, bro. Thank you. Well, thank you on converting. I might do Bully, but what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be doing GTA Chinatown Wars. That's going to be next. But Medal of Honor still has one more part, guys. But the Medal of Honor part that I'm going to be uploading is not going to be gameplay. It's going to be more of a nostalgia video. Thank you, Dragon Knight, Dragonborn. Thanks, man, for the donation. Medal of Honor Frontline we'll do this June to commemorate the Normandy landings. On the 14th or the 15th. Okay, Mario. Yeah. A lot of people actually don't know the reason that you have all the Mafia stuff from Valentine's Day. It's a reference to the Valentine's Day Massacre. It's a real-life event. The Valentine's Day Massacre is considered the worst gang hit in American history. Oh, I never played Chinatown Wars, so this will be my first time playing it. I respect you, you're a good guy. Thank you, Drag. No, the Ghost Raid glitch hasn't been patched. The other day, I actually got Ghost Raided the other day. I didn't even know about it. I was in an MC, and my MC members were going over to actually save the, it was the nightclub, I think it was, that was getting raided. So it was a nightclub. It was something that was getting raided, and my MC members ended up stopping it, but it didn't appear on my map. I didn't even know what was going on. So no, it's not patched. I was in your lobby walking around the casino and left. Oh, okay, sensitivity. Okay, I'm just waiting for the, everyone else to deliver theirs. Yeah, you guys just gotta go on the subway. That's all you gotta do to lose the cops. I think it was the nightclub. I'm trying to remember what it was that got raided, but something got raided the other day. I think it was a nightclub. I'm not certain. I know it wasn't the MC businesses. It wasn't the bunker. It was something got raided. I was running an MC business. and then something got raided, and my MC members went over and stopped it. Professional, do you like North Korea? No. I would not want to go to North Korea. I have a lore video that I'll eventually make on North Korea, and it's when I play Mercenaries Playground of Destruction again. Which Mercenaries Playground Destruction is an open world game that's set in North Korea, and when I finish that again, I'll do a lore video on that topic. Evening, Pearl, how are you? Are you still considering a playthrough of Ghost Recon Wildlands? Yeah, we'll do Ghost Recon Wildlands one day. Yeah, we'll do it. I think, you know what I think we'll start doing? I think we'll start doing regular Hitman streams, since there's like, Freelancer is like a never-ending thing now. Yeah. And we'll help the next person out here. I don't know, Division 2 and just... 20 of the enemies in Division 2 were like bullet sponges, which is why I might not do a playthrough of that one. The Last of Us, maybe the first one day I'll do a playthrough of. Was Medal of Honor Warfighter bad? The multiplayer wasn't really that good, but the single player was decent. Hello, Yara. Probably the Red Dead Online streams probably have like a lot less comments in them. That's probably the reason. I'm on PlayStation. Maybe I could do something like that. Tyrion. Thank you for stopping by the stream. No, I'm not really into football. Just one more bike, just waiting for it to be delivered. There we go, good work. 3 of 4 acid delivered. What happened to one of the bikes? Okay, well... okay, I guess I'm gonna go help the next person then now, Brandon. Invite me, whoever needs help next. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Wow, someone donated $100. Whoever that was, thank you for the donation. If you want your name to appear, just make sure you hit the checkbox in the, if you want your name to appear. Thank you for the, thank you for the donation. I do really appreciate it. You're helping out a lot of people. We're already at $813. Nice guys. And let me just see about if I can just if I do go to the gym. A second.
Sorry about that. That guy gave me a weird vibe from the start, okay, but I don't like to judge, you know? This, I gotta get more paranoid.
Okay, let me see if I can... oh, I don't know if I can pin that. Oh, it would get... well, we'll keep the track of the 813 right now, but it's, okay. Can you invite me to the MC business then, man? Oh, there we go. Business invite already, okay. Might even drive my Roosevelt Valor around in those days too. Mario, do you know why it's actually called the Roosevelt in GTA? Do you know why it's called that? Thank you, Duke, for subscribing.
You're bikers, right? Because the buyer wants the product biked into the back of a truck.
Thank you, whoever that was that donated the $100. Oh, thank you, Jen. Thank you. $150 donation from Jen. Thanks, Jen. And thank you from Anonymous. Just make sure if you guys want your name to appear, you hit the checkbox after you make the donation. Thank you, guys. We're almost at $1,000 already. Wow. Thank you, guys. Left to this drop. Some people might want to stay anonymous, bro. Okay, that's fine. I'm just letting people know because sometimes people miss the checkbox. Why is that, Mario? Yes, GTA Chinatown Wars is next. Do you have siblings? I have a half-brother and a half-sister. There we go. Good work, everyone. Oh, thank you, Funder. Thank you for the donation. Thank you. $30 from Funder, too. Thank you. We've already hit $1,000, guys. Wow, thank you, guys.
You close.
What time is it for you, Pro? 7:30. Yes, that is true, Mario.
You doing?
fast mission. Thank you, Abade. Thanks, man. I wonder if I can get there before 26 minutes and 30 seconds, or even 27 minutes. If I really push it, I think I might be able to get there with the truck that quickly. Yeah, I'll have the campaign linked to a lot of videos. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Thank you, guys. Hello, Saints. Okay, almost got there in 3 minutes. I was really close. But still, I made amazing time on this truck delivery. How you been, Pat? I've been good, Isaiah. How are you, man? Anyone can join me. And just invite me to the next business whenever you're ready, man. Yes, he is, Drifter. What level are you in Modern Warfare? Well, I don't remember what level I am right now. I'm like 70-something, I think. And in the Battle Pass, I think I'm like 80-something. So I still gotta finish it this weekend. My gamer tag, my PSN is Polish Mercenary.
All right.
Okay. Oh no, come on. Oh, I hate when that happens. What is it better, GTA Online or Red Dead Online right now? Well, I think GTA Online is probably more fun because it just has more content and still keeps getting more content. Red Dead Online is a fun game to play with like friends, but it's the lack of content on it right now, which is just making it very hard to like play and enjoy. But if you play with friends, it is kind of fun. But like me and my friends, we hang out on it every Friday. We have fun with it. But if you're playing Red Dead Online by yourself, yeah, I don't think you're really gonna have that much fun. what, Mannix? Yeah, Chinatown Wars is next. One Jumping Soda cosplay flavor, yeah. Those games are ridiculous. I played Ninja Gaiden. I played the demos when I was a kid, but I never really got into them, no. Uncovering, can you please fly lower? Because I can't be high up the cops on this one. Oh, thank you, Rashawn, for the donation. Covering, can you please fly lower? You're converting. You're just flying too high to guide the planes. Planes can't take advantage of the boost fully. I can't fly that high. Not really, Ant. Why not watching the Super Bowl? Because I'm just not into football. I don't really care much for football. Who's the best gunslinger in the Red Dead Redemption games and Red Dead Revolver? In Red Dead Revolver, I don't really remember most of the characters. Probably Red is probably the best gunslinger. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, it's probably, Arthur, I would say, is probably the best gunslinger. I'm Turkish, man. Thank you for doing this. No problem, Happy. Glad I can help. We got this here. Best weapons for GT Online. Well, speaking of that, I'm actually uploading a video on that very soon, possibly tomorrow, on that exact topic. Bro, what did you think of the French people loving the guillotine chopping heads back then? Weird question. But the a lot of people actually don't know this. The guillotine is actually not a French revolutionary execution tool. It was actually made by the monarchy. It was never implemented by the monarchy. But the monarchy were the ones who actually made the guillotine. That is true also, Harry, but it's more brutal, though. Okay, almost at this drop. There we go. Well, you know, people would oftentimes see it in the squares and stuff like that, but, let's go to the next business here. Well, the thing is, though, about it is that during the French Revolution, the reason that the mobs of people would, like, cheer on when the executions happened was because a lot of the people that were actually getting executed were typically the aristocrats, and they were the people who actually bankrupted France and were actually very corrupt. So there was definitely innocent people that were executed at the guillotine, but a lot of the people that were actually executed at the guillotine were actually corrupt aristocrats, and so the poor were actually very excited to see that. I know that sounds kind of messed up, but that's the reasoning for it. That's why people traveled to see that back then. This mission's just, yeah, always been bad. I don't know why they never let you customize the post-op vans just to make them go faster. Make this mission so much easier. No, they'll never bring bags back. Well, you know, you can sell in these lobbies, and you can, you know, get big bonuses also, because the more people that are in the lobby, you get a bigger bonus for that. So, you know, we hang out in these lobbies and help everyone sell, and, you know, that's how it goes. I'll probably do a heist a little later tonight on the stream. Yeah, we'll probably do one tonight. Ah, no. Okay, well, we're about to be in the city at least. Yeah, I know, I'm converting. Oh, thank you, Fernando, for the donation. Thanks, man. We're at $1,100 already so far. Thank you, guys. You guys are all awesome. This community is awesome. Thank you, guys. Go. Drop off the next one. Let's do it. Oh, thank you, Antonio. Thanks for the donation, man. What's your opinion on the Salem witch trials? It's, what's your opinion on the Salem witch trials? I actually did a video on the Salem witch trials, a documentary on it, and comparing it to the game Little Hope. Look up my Little Hope lore video. It's in my lore playlist. It's like over an hour long, but I did do a video on that specifically, on the witch trials. But the witch trials were just stupid back then. And a lot of times also what happened was the witch trials were a way for people to actually steal land from other people. Because what would happen is, if the person got executed, their land would actually go for auction, and it would go for auction at very cheap. And so somebody could actually accuse somebody of being a witch, they'd get executed, and then theoretically they could then take their land. So that would, there's a lot of corruption in the, yeah. A lot of corruption in the Salem witch trials. Thank you, Coffee, for subscribing. It's okay, Thunder. You don't have to apologize. Any amount that you donate helps. Thank you for the earlier donation. 10 Penny Pulaski, Big Smoke. Who's the worst of them? 10 Penny, because he's the one that's leading the whole thing. Can you read my question? One moment, Edgy. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Well, cancel culture itself is just really stupid. I think, you know, I'm just completely against it. I just think it's stupid. The fact that people go after other people for something that they said like 10 years ago or more, that's just ridiculous. You know, people change. You know, somebody shouldn't be canceled and just have their life ruined over, stupid mistakes they've done earlier in their life. And, that's cancel culture is just stupid. We're actually making really good progress on the post-op. Wow, look at that. I finished my post-op van in 9 minutes. Unloading a post-op van in 9 minutes, that's actually record time. Okay. Cool outfit. Thank you, man. Edgy asked me a question earlier. Irina, was in The Sopranos. Wasn't Irina the Russian woman that Tony cheated on his wife with in The Sopranos? Wasn't that who Irina was? I just don't remember the side characters as much. I remember the main characters really well, but you are a cool guy. Thank you. And thank you, Keenan. Thank you if I'm reading your name correctly. Between Carlos and Shogo, which is the worst death? Shogo, I would say, is being buried alive. Just, yeah. Saints Row 2. It's going good, Bunny. How much richer would you be in real life if you were just doing GTA content? If I did only GTA Online content, I probably would have a lot more views and a lot more subscribers. That is true. Ever since I started doing other content, my views and my subscribers have gone down. However, though, I've never regretted it because I want to do other content. And so, ultimately, money is not everything. It isn't. You know, you gotta do things that make you happy and things that you generally enjoy. Like, look at Medal of Honor. Like, Medal of Honor doesn't get, you know, as many views as, like, my GTA videos. But I still do it. I even get, like, a costume together because I just like those games and I like doing stuff like that. So, if you're a YouTuber and you do only just what gets the most views and you don't even do what you like most of the time, I think it's a really bad way to go about it, personally. It has art, yeah. And I mean, I've attracted a wider audience. GTA is just boring, but I like your personality, bro. Thank you, Ant. I don't remember that much about the Polish maid at Tony's house, but I do remember that she let the police in without a warrant in one episode. I remember that happened. And then I remember her husband came by and he had her husband came by and he took like the TV, like an older TV, and then Tony gave him Ricky's jacket, which that was actually really funny. So that was I remember that scene in The Sopranos. But I'm trying to remember what her husband did, the Polish maid's husband. I'm trying to remember what he did before he came to America, but they talked about that beforehand in the show. I'll do a Red Dead 1 playthrough one day, yes. For me personally, money buys me happiness. Well, look, here's what I'll say about money and happiness. If you have, you know, if you are poor, you're how would I say, you will always be happier if you have more money. So, you know, money does how do I say this? Money does make your life more comfortable and makes it, you know, enjoyable, and, you know, you are generally happier with more money. So, like, when people say money doesn't buy happiness, it's not necessarily true. If somebody is, like, for example, poor, and then they get a lot of money, they're going to be a lot more happy. That is true. But my point that I'm getting at though is that you can't do everything based on money, because if you constantly think about money, you're gonna be miserable. And there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money, but if you just obsess over that, I think that's personally a bad thing. You know, there's like people that are like there are people that are like obsessed with money, and it's almost like a disease. Like they just want to get more and more and more money. And what I'll say about that is, if I had a few $1 million, which eventually one day I want to have a few $1 million one day, but if I do get to that point one day, then I'll be happy. That's really all I need. If I just had a few $1 million just for the rest of my life, I'd be happy. That's it. I don't need $100 million. I don't need $200 million. I don't need that crap. If I just had a few million, I'd be happy. You know, like $3-4 million, like around there, I'd be happy for the rest of my life. But if I had like, you know, I don't need that much insane, like $100 million. And so that's the thing that I'm saying, is that people are like, it's like, if you want to be rich, like, you know, that's fine. That's something that most people strive to do. But it's the people that like have so much money. It's like, I don't understand that, and I don't understand why they want so much money. Like, for example, these billionaires, like, if you look at these billionaires, like, they try to squeeze everything. They try to squeeze as much money as they possibly can into everything. And I'm basically thinking to myself, I'm like, why? Like, why? What's the point exactly? It's like, they have so much money that they could not even spend that in their lifetime if they wanted to. So, like, why are they still trying to squeeze everything for every little, like, penny? I don't get that personally. But it's like a disease with the money. Sometimes it's like an obsession. They just want to hoard it, and that's like, yeah. Did your view of retail workers change specifically after you worked in retail for so long? Yeah, generally a lot. But I would say that retail changed me a bit, and it what I'll say about retail and changing me is that it changed my view of the public. Like, I have a very different view of the public now than when I started working in retail 6 years ago. Because I'll tell you guys something. When I started working in retail, I never in my life imagined, ever, that somebody could freak out and cause a massive scene over like a $1 coupon. Like, I didn't think that could happen. I didn't think that anybody could be that stupid that they would complain and just cause scenes over the dumbest things ever. I didn't think people would do something like that. But my perception of people have changed so much since working in retail. I've seen people complain about the dumbest things, the stupidest things. And so that's like, that has really, yeah. I'd say that's really changed my view. Me personally, I want to make billions and billions and billions because I want to help all the poor people and all the disenfranchised people. I don't want none of the money for myself. Well, you have a good heart, Grandpa King. Oh, the thing is though, is that a lot of people don't. A lot of the billionaires, I would say, don't. Really rich people don't. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Samurai, for this donation. I didn't see your donation earlier. I'm sorry. But yeah, I would say that, you know, I'd be happy with just a few $1 million. I don't need $100 million. And so that's like, I don't know, like, you know, the obsession with money and why people are just so obsessed with it a lot of times. Thought I stopped what? God bless, thank you. Hey, bro, it's a nice outfit. Thank you, man. Let's hope Saint's here now. What is your thoughts on Napoleon Bonaparte? He is my idol. I know it won't ever happen, but I want... Well, what else? Oh, great, defending product. Oh, okay. Napoleon was not a good man. That's what I'll say about him. But I wouldn't say he was evil either. But about Napoleon is a very controversial figure in history. It depends on where you go, specifically your view of Napoleon. For example, you know, people in France will probably have a positive view of Napoleon. People in Poland will probably have a positive view of him as well, and that's because Napoleon did restore Polish statehood. So Poland was basically conquered by Germany or Prussia at the time. Prussia, Austria, and Russia. And when Napoleon invaded that territory, he restored Polish statehood. So he restored the country of Poland, the Duchy of Warsaw is what it was called. It was kind of a protectorate of France, but it had much more independence than under like Russia, you know, Prussia and Austria. So Polish people generally have a positive view of Napoleon. If you go to Russia, for example, there's a very negative view of him for obvious reasons, his invasions. But if about Napoleon is he did do some good things, like for example, he introduced Napoleonic Code into Europe, which is still used to this day. Napoleonic Code basically says that there's not going to be any kind of aristocratic privileges. So Napoleon, even though he was from the aristocracy himself, he despised the aristocrats. He despised a lot of the elites. And even though, ironically, he was one of the elites, he despised most of the other elites. And so it was basically, Napoleonic Code basically said that everybody's equal under the law. It doesn't grant anyone special privileges. So just because you're of a special family, just because you're like a special aristocrat, that you don't have more privileges than somebody who's poor. Everyone is equal under the law. That was basically the idea of Napoleonic Code. And what Napoleon also did is he reduced the power of the Catholic Church in Europe, which I generally think was a good thing, because you get religion out of politics. He also ended the Spanish Inquisition, which the Spanish Inquisition was it was basically a religious court in Spain that would just condemn people and burn them and hang them for just ridiculous crimes. It was like basically like a, you know, almost like the witch trial still going on at that time in Spain. So Napoleon actually ended that. But Napoleon also, even though he did do some good things, he did some bad things also. For example, he had put his brother as king of Spain, which was a really bad idea. He should not have made his brother king of Spain. He should have turned Spain into a republic. That's what he should have done. He shouldn't have turned Spain into like a monarchy with his brother. If he made his brother monarch, that's gonna, you know, that was just caused rebellions. The worst thing that Napoleon probably did was when he reinstituted slavery into Haiti. So that was the French Revolution, ended slavery, abolished slavery, but Napoleon brought it back. And so that was one of the worst things he did. So he's a controversial figure in it that he did do good things. You know, he did, you know, reduce the power of the church. He did reduce the power of the aristocracy. He made it so that everyone was equal under the law. But at the same time is, you know, he did reinstitute slavery. So that was like, so he's a very controversial figure. He definitely did some good, but he did some bad also. But like people who compare Napoleon to Hitler, Napoleon is nowhere close to Hitler. Nowhere. Hitler is 10 times worse than Napoleon. Nowhere close. Pro-history question. Do you know which annexed part of Poland was the best? Austria, Prussia, or Russia? Yes. If you were in occupied Poland at that time, the best place to live was in Austrian Poland. That was the best place to generally live. And the reason Austrian Poland was generally the best place to live, the worst one was Russian Poland. Russian Poland was the worst place to live. The reason Russian Poland was the worst place to live was because in Russian-occupied Poland, the Russians tried to Russify Poland, and that's one of the reasons that Poles hated Russians so much for that reason, because basically what the Russian Empire did was they banned the Polish language, so you couldn't actually, if you were Polish, you couldn't actually speak Polish on your own land. They also banned the Catholic Church, which Poland was largely a Catholic nation. They tried to force Russian Orthodoxy on Poles. And if Polish people actually were caught speaking Polish or teaching their kids Polish, they could actually be sent to a work camp in Siberia. A lot of people actually don't know this, but it was actually the Russian king who actually built the first Gulag system. It wasn't actually the Soviets. The Soviets were the ones who built the most gulags, but they weren't the ones who created the Gulag system. That was actually the king. The Russian Tsar was the one who did the gulags. The gulags existed before the Soviet times. But that's basically what it was. The German part of Poland, the Prussian part, I should say. The Prussian part of Poland was a little bit better than the Russian part. Poles were allowed to be Catholic, for example, but what they had to do is they had to change their names to German. So a lot of Polish people, even though they weren't even German at all, they had to change their names to German. And so there's a lot of people in Poland to this day that have German names. So there's like Polish people that have like first names, but their last names are German, and they have no German ancestry. And the reason for that was because of just them forcing Poles to just rename their last names to German. But the Austrian-occupied part of Poland, that part, Poles were allowed to have whatever name they wanted, Polish first name and last name, and they were allowed to practice any religion they wanted. So the Austrian part was the most tolerant one. So it was the best one. And Poles had the best living standards, but the Austrians were still bad. They weren't good. It's just Poles had the best life under them compared to the other occupiers, but they were still occupiers. So that's hope that answered that history question there. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Thank you, Noskelly, for the donation also. Thank you, Camo Money. Why did they ban? Wait, okay. You're asking me why Napoleon reduced the power of the Catholic Church? Even though France is a Catholic nation, because, well, one of the reasons that Napoleon did reduce the power of the Catholic Church is because he didn't want them getting in his way. But another reason was also because the fact that even though France was a Catholic nation, the French Revolution was very anti-Catholic to a large degree, and the reason for that was because it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was anti-Catholic towards believers, it was more anti-Catholic towards the leadership and the church itself. Because basically at that time, what happened was France at that time was into three classes. You had the first estate, which were that was the church, I believe, the clergy. The second estate was the aristocrats, the wealthy elites, and then the third estate was the peasants, the merchants, and the farmers, and everyone else. And what happened was the third estate was like 98% of the population. But even though they were like 98% of the population, they only had a 1/3 vote. So the other two, even though the aristocrats were just 1% of the population, and the church was 1% of the population too, the leadership, they had 2/3 of the vote. So they outvoted the third estate every time, which was a completely unbalanced and unfair system. And literally what happened was the church voted to reduce taxes on itself and actually voted to increase taxes on the poor. So that's what the church did at the time. The church was very corrupt before revolutionary France. And that's why France to this day is like secularism is very strong in like French society for since the revolution, because of just the fact that the Catholic Church was just involved in so much corruption. That was generally what it was about. I could do Hell Let Loose one day, yes. Yeah, I want to do more YouTube shorts, but I really don't have any ideas for them. I'm open to doing more, but... Any lore videos in the works? Yes, a San Andreas lore video right now. Okay. What do you think of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan? Oh, it was stupid. You could argue that's actually one of the reasons the Soviet Union got bankrupted. I played Assassin's Creed 1. I'm down to play more in the future. Oh, thank you, Bernie. Thank you for the donation. Thanks, man. I'm good. How are you, man? I could probably do something like that, Fernando. Why was Resident Evil 5 and 6 so hated? Well, I didn't play Resident Evil 6, but I know that one of the reasons that Resident Evil 6 was really hated was because Resident Evil 6 was, really, like, action-packed. Like, it got away from the horror, and it was just non-stop, like, crazy Michael Bay action. That's, I think, why people didn't like it that much. Resident Evil 5 did not really have that much horror to it as the other Resident Evil games. And also, Resident Evil 5 had some really bad dialogue. Like, the dialogue in that game was pretty bad at times. Like, I remember when Wesker would just say, Chris, Chris. Like, yeah, that was just, that was annoying. So, like, Wesker said Chris like 100 times in that game. And then that boulder scene and that final boss battle against Wesker, yeah, that sucked. So that's literally why, I think people didn't like Resident Evil 5. Good work, professional. Thanks, man. Why was Hitler so evil? Well, he wanted a German-dominated Europe, and he was going to slaughter and mass murder anybody that he didn't like. And if Hitler had won the war, he would have murdered hundreds of millions of Slavs, people that live in Eastern Europe, because Hitler considered Slavs inferior. And so, if Hitler had won the war, he would have killed hundreds of millions of people. There was people that the Nazis had, like, hated the most, like, people who were Jewish, gay, you know, handicapped people, who were Roma people, but if the Nazis had ultimately won in, like, Eastern Europe, they would have just mass murdered the Polish population, the Russian population, Ukrainian, Belarusian population. Well, I think it's generally a good thing that the church does not have that much power in Western society anymore. I think that's generally a good thing in my opinion. I don't the ridiculous thing about this is that, you know, when you say you don't think that organized religion should have an influence in government, people generally, like, will say that you support, like, you know, state atheism or something like that. No, that's not true. You know, I just generally support, like, a secular society, a society which just, you know, just no religion in government. I personally, just my personal opinion, I don't think religion has really any place in government. That's just my view on it. I don't have a problem with people having, like, religious beliefs or believing, like, you know, a certain way, you know, and that's shaping their moral views. But I just personally think that when it comes to government, that when it comes to law, that it should just not be, that should just not be part of it. Okay, waiting for this to be sold here. Okay, waiting for this. Have you heard of the religious police in Dubai? Yes, I've heard about that too. It's I just think it's stupid that you would have a religious police, because not everyone believes in the religion. So how are you going to enforce religious law on people who don't believe in the religion? That's I just think the idea of that is just dumb itself. You know, the thing is, though, is that a historical thing about this is that the American forefathers, the people who actually founded my country, the United States, most of the American forefathers were very non-religious. They weren't atheists. They didn't hate religion, but they were just very non-religious people. They were generally deists, which meant that they believed in a god, but not necessarily the Christian god. They were just non-religious people, and they thought that religion really should have a place in government. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that try to twist and turn history, and they'll say that the founding fathers were like these devout religious people who founded the U.S. on the Bible. That's not true. There's no evidence that the Constitution was founded on the Bible or the Bill of Rights or any of that stuff. They were skeptics of authority. They were free thinkers. They were skeptics of government. They were skeptics of government. They were skeptics of religion. They were skeptics of monarchy. That in general. But Freemasons. No, that's the whole Freemason thing. It's just a stupid conspiracy. That's just what it was. The Freemasons were just basically like a club of people. They were a club of people at that time that were free thinkers. That's all they were. There's a club of people that got together and they basically had question things. They would question authority. They would question religion. They were free thinkers. They supported the ideas of freedom of speech. They weren't like people think that the Freemasons were some kind of cult. That's not true. And it's just sure, a lot of the founders had some Freemasonry. Some of them were part of the group, but it wasn't a cult or anything like that. If people think that, that's just not true. And people say the same thing about the French Revolution. They say the French Revolution was caused by Freemasons, which that's not true. There was some Freemasons that were involved in the French Revolution, but the reason the French Revolution happened was because the monarchy was stupid and had starved the peasants. The peasants had nothing to eat, and there was a lot of inequality. That's generally why it happened. So it's in Assassin's Creed Unity, they actually have the whole Freemason thing, but it's with the Templars, because a lot of people, there's conspiracies that the Freemasons had caused the French Revolution, but in Assassin's Creed Unity, they replaced that with the Templars, so that was what that was based on originally. But one of the rules of the Freemasons was generally that it was no politics are to be discussed. I don't really know much more about them other than that, but I just know they were free thinkers. It was a weird club, sure, I agree, it was kind of weird, but this idea that they were plotting world domination or something is just stupid. It's not true. What do you think of the government of Iran? Psychotic? Crazy? Bad? Oh, I have over 1,118,000,000 in the game here. The nobility caused the French Revolution. I agree with you 100%. It was nobility. People that try to say it was a Freemason conspiracy, the French Revolution, they act like there was no economic inequality in France. They act like the aristocracy wasn't abusing their power. They act like the monarchy wasn't abusing their power. They act like the church wasn't abusing their power. So that was they were. Are you considered the wealthiest player in GTA? No, there's players that have more money than me grinded. Criminal enterprises or drug wars?
That is messed up.
I think criminal enterprises because it allowed you to finally sell it in invite-only sessions, which I think is generally a good thing.
That.
Well, I don't know much about the Freemasons other than that. I just know they were free thinkers, and they were a club of people that got together and just questioned authority. That's generally what I know about it. there's no proof that it was some giant plot to conquer the world or something like that. No. And also, if the American Revolutionary War was like a Freemason plot, then don't you think that George Washington would have seized power right after the Revolutionary War and declared himself president for life? Because George Washington could have done that. He could have declared himself like dictator. Nothing could have stopped him. He was that powerful after the Revolutionary War. And what a lot of the European leaders were actually saying that George Washington was a fraud, and they were saying that he's going to take power the second that the war ends. But George Washington didn't do that. December 23rd, he stepped down from power. He's one of the few leaders in the world who actually stepped down from power. So that's like, yeah. What do I think of Sharia law? Well, I'm against any kind of religious law. I think that religious law is just generally stupid, and I don't think that it has any kind of place in like modern society. Like I just don't, I don't get this it was that and it was like, I just don't get personally like why anybody would want to enforce any kind of religious law on people, and not only that, but enforce religious law on people who just don't believe in the religion. Like, how can you enforce religious law on somebody who doesn't believe in the religion? I don't understand that. So that's all I'll say about that. So, I don't care what religion. I don't want to see, my personal view on this is I have nothing against any religion. I have respect for a lot of religions. I just don't think religion has a place in government. That's all my personal view on it. The founding fathers would agree with me too. Like, the people who founded this country, they didn't want like religion to be in government generally. But people, for example, think that like the founding fathers were like these devout, like religious people, which it's not true. It's not. John Adams, for example, he was the second president of the United States. People don't know this, but what happened was right after the Revolutionary War ended and America became its own country, what happened was that the American ships were going to Europe to trade. America was a neutral nation, and the north part of Africa was called the Barbary States. The Barbary States were the northern part of Africa. Now, the Barbary States were a weird country. They were a weird country. The reason they were a weird country is because they were a pirate country. That's what they were. They were technically a protectorate of the Ottoman Empire, and basically how the Barbary States worked is they would engage in piracy. So it was a country that would attack other ships and just take their stuff. And the Barbary States would never attack Ottoman ships. So they would never attack Ottoman ships, they would attack European states. And then what they would do is they would give a cut of that to the Ottoman Empire. In exchange, the Ottoman Empire would let them rule over themselves. That was basically how the Barbary States work. And what happened was, with the Barbary States, they started attacking American ships right after the Revolutionary War ended. So when the American ships would go towards Europe, the Barbary pirate ships would attack them and take them over and take like Americans hostage. And what happened was, Thomas Jefferson was the president at the time, and he got really pissed off, and he tried to negotiate with the pirates, but the pirates kept demanding more and more money, and Thomas Jefferson said, no, we're not paying these ridiculous ransoms anymore. They tried to negotiate with them, but it got out of control, and then Thomas Jefferson actually sent the Marines in. So that's actually the first overseas Marine engagement. The Marines went over to fight the Barbary pirates. That was their first engagement. And the Barbary pirates ended up losing. They lost really badly. The Marines just destroyed them. And what happened was when the Barbary leader, when he was signing a peace treaty with the U.S., he asked the John Adams whether America was a Christian country, because he was saying that this is another crusade. He was basically accusing it of being a crusade, even though they were the ones who attacked American ships first. John Adams basically told him that the United States of America is in no way founded on Christianity. That's what John Adams said to him. It's an actual quote from John Adams. You can find it. He says the United States of America is in no way founded on Christianity. But yet people to this day, the point that I'm making is people think that like the American founding fathers, they think that Thomas Jefferson and like John Adams and George Washington, and they think that all these people were like super religious people. It's not true. It's not. So that's the founding fathers were not atheists. They weren't, but they were just not religious people. They just weren't. They just didn't believe religion should be in government and just wanted to stay away from it. That was generally what their view was. But that was What decade was the U.S. versus the Barbary States? It was in the early 1800s. It was during Thomas Jefferson's presidency. Thank you, Binding Eagle, for the donation. Thanks, man. Why do American courts use the Bible? That's just, I don't think that that's a thing that was used until decades later. I think it was decades later when that started being used. It's like that you swear to tell the truth on the Bible. And I guess it's like a way to pressure people into telling the truth. That's like a way, knowing that you're swearing on the Bible. That's like, I think that's what it personally is. But like, for example, like what a lot of people don't know about is that like in when you see like the American money, like the dollar, and it says on there, "In God We Trust," what a lot of people don't know about that is people point to that and they say, "Oh, this is proof that America was founded on Christianity." But the reality of that is the "In God We Trust," that stuff, that wasn't actually added to the money until the Cold War. You can look that up. And the reason that it was added during the Cold War was it was to show that you have freedom of religion in America. It was to show that in America, you can worship any kind of religion that you want. You have guaranteed freedom of religion. Because the Soviet Union did not respect freedom of religion. The Soviet Union was state atheist. So the Soviets discriminated heavily against any kind of religion. And so that was the whole "In God We Trust" on American money, was to show that America has freedom of religion when the Soviet Union doesn't. It was basically a jab at the Soviet Union. That's what it was. Thank you, Jack, for the donation. Okay. I think he was, though, CT. Adam stated it to them, Witty. I know about that.
Okay.
But you know, the point that I'm making, and I have nothing. Now I'm not, and I don't generally like talking about religion. We got a weird this history topic talking about it. But yeah, I was just saying, mostly from a history perspective, that there's really no proof that America was like, you know, founded on as a Christian nation. Sure, the majority religion was Christian. There's no doubt about that. But there's no proof that the foundation of the country, the documents of it, were actually founded on religion. There's no proof of that. It was, you know, America was made really to be the first non-religious country in the world. That's really when you think about it. So that was exactly, you know, you have freedom of religion in America. You can, you know, yeah, but you know, the American founding fathers, you know, they were people that believed in individual liberty greatly. You know, they valued individual liberty. They valued like freedom of choice, like you know, study where you want, do what you want with your life, as long as you're not hurting anybody. You know, do what you want. If the founding fathers were alive today, they probably would associate the most with the Libertarian Party. That's probably who they would associate with the most. But it was yeah, generally that was the view about them. But I see a lot of people that misquote them all the time. Well, I like I said, Mario, is I can't stand any kind of religious law, and like, you know, I think it's personally stupid that there's religious law in like a lot of Middle Eastern countries. I think that's dumb. Oh, I'll look in a moment here, Reggie. Oh, we got helicopters here. Okay. YouTube needs more content creators like you. Blessing to you and your family. Well, thank you, no username. Thanks, man. Thank you, it's Ant. Thank you for the donation. Thanks, man. We already raised $1,200. Thank you, everybody. Oh no, I agree with you, England. Like, you know, the founding fathers were not, you know, perfect people. You know, they had, you know, issues. They were some, you know, the founding fathers didn't believe that women had the right to the same voting process as men did. That is true. You know, they didn't abolish slavery at that time. Later on, you know, the system that they created later on allowed us to abolish slavery, but they didn't abolish it during their time. That is true. But at the same time, not every founding father did actually own slaves. George Washington is most notable, who actually owned, you know, a bit of slaves. But it was John Adams actually did not own any kind of slaves. He didn't, and he was against slavery. John Jay also did not own slaves, and Alexander Hamilton also didn't either. They were all abolitionists. But what I'll tell you is about Alexander Hamilton. He's the guy who actually founded the first U.S. national bank, and he had he also set up one of the first schools in Manhattan, in New York, which was it was a school for freedmen, where they African Americans could learn how to read and write, because a lot of people back then didn't know how to read and write, and if somebody was a slave, they probably did not know how to read and write. And Alexander Hamilton's school ran mostly on charities, and it helped teach people how to read and write and helped educate them. But the thing about that is that most people today probably would not know that. Most people today probably don't even know that Alexander Hamilton is on the $10 bill. That's they just know the play. That's it. They just know the play Hamilton, and they don't know anything about the guy, or they don't know anything about what he did, which is really sad. He founded the first U.S. National Bank. He was the first Secretary of the Treasury also. Hamilton and Burr. Well, Burr was from the Democratic Republican Party. Hamilton was from the Federalist Party. And Burr and Hamilton really didn't like each other. They really despised each other. And the thing about that is that's actually one of the few times that Thomas Jefferson did actually agree with Hamilton, because Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton didn't like each other that much. It was because Hamilton wanted to expand the powers of the federal government. Thomas Jefferson really didn't like that. He wanted to keep the government as small as possible. And so Burr was, like, you know, another top guy in the Democratic Republican Party that was Thomas Jefferson's party. And even Thomas Jefferson didn't like him. Thomas Jefferson didn't trust him, so he actually agreed with Hamilton on that. And what actually happened was when Thomas Jefferson was actually running for president, Hamilton actually endorsed him. Even though he argued with Thomas Jefferson a lot, Hamilton endorsed him because he just didn't like Burr, and he didn't want Burr to be president, so he preferred Thomas Jefferson. And what ended up happening is Burr and Hamilton ended up arguing a bunch, and then eventually it went to a duel, and they dueled each other. And what happened was, at that time, it's a little bit different than a Wild West duel. Wild West duel was basically, you had like two guys that go on the street. You know, they both like have their hands on their revolvers ready to draw, both on their holsters, and they just draw. And like one of them draws and they just shoot each other. But duels before that were a little bit different, where basically you had something called dueling pistols. And so the dueling pistols were, you know, specifically just made for dueling. And, you know, somebody would bring a case along. There'd usually be a witness. Somebody would bring, and the reason there'd be a witness is to make sure that nobody would be accused of murder. But they would have like a case, and they would go up to the case, and each guy would like pick up their gun, and then they would have their backs towards each other, walk like a few feet, and then they would just point at each other and shoot. And generally how the duels worked is that it would be that one person, sometimes they would shoot at each other at the same time, others that it would be one person would go first. So maybe they'd throw a coin, and they would say who would get to shoot first. And then after that, the next person would shoot. And about the Hamilton-Burr duel, Hamilton died in that duel. And there's a few different versions on what had happened in that duel, but one of the most commonly believed versions is that Hamilton basically just took his gun and just fired it in the air, just to show Burr that he was done arguing. And what happened was, even though Hamilton basically fired his gun in the air and had basically said he's done with this nonsense, Burr still pointed his gun at him and shot and killed him. And so what ended up happening was Burr got away with it. He wasn't found guilty because it was a duel, technically. But after that, what happened was that dueling was, there was a lot of laws brought in. The government brought in laws against dueling, and Burr's entire political career was over. So even though Burr had killed Hamilton, whose greatest arch enemy, he was forever known as the guy who killed Hamilton. And his his career was over. He was never going to win anything. He was never going to get elected to anything after that. So Burr was finished. What also happened was what's his name? Trying to remember. Marquis de Lafayette. He was one of the technically, I consider him one of the founding fathers. He was a French aristocrat who was a general, who was an advisor, who came to help the U.S. during the Revolutionary War. And what happened was, in the 1830s, I think it was the 1830s, he went to visit America on his trip, and he visited every single state in America. And what happened was, during that visit, he actually met Alexander Hamilton's son. And when he met Alexander Hamilton's son, he was just crying because of just how much he looked like Hamilton. So that's how much Lafayette took it personally when Hamilton died. And also, it was that Thomas Jefferson, even though he argued with Hamilton a lot, Thomas Jefferson was like a gentleman in this regard, and he said good things about Hamilton after he had died. So it was, so even though these guys disagreed with each other, they argued with each other, they didn't want the other guy dead. And so that was but the thing about that is that, like I said, most people probably would not know that. And I'm not saying people have to know the whole history, but at least know who the guy in the $10 bill is. That's what I would say. He's the guy who founded the first national bank, and he's one of the abolitionists. He's one of the founding fathers that was against slavery, and he also he was the first Secretary of the Treasury. But most people, like I said, don't even know that. You show them the $10 bill, they're like, oh, who's that? So they don't know that. So the kids these days, they don't even know who the people are. I wouldn't be surprised if people don't know who Ben Franklin is in the future. So that would, yeah. Okay, let's see here. Where are we going? Okay, here. Pro, would you have been a Federalist or an Anti-Federalist in 1790? That is a good question. I probably would have been, an Anti-Federalist. I generally don't like, I don't like big government, and I don't like the government, I don't like the federal government getting bigger and bigger. So I would be, if I lived in that time period, I would have been an Anti-Federalist. So yes. Wait, what complete? Okay, go. Are you in favor of voluntary duels? No. No, not at all. No, that's no, that's ridiculous. If you allow duels, you're gonna have so much violence. Also, here's the scary thing about it, though, guys. That back then, if Dragonbone said you name dropped me, so I'm wondering if you did. Wait, name drop? What does that mean? Can you explain complete? But look, here's the scary thing about it, what I'll say, is that in that time period, if somebody challenged you to a duel in that time period, even if you didn't want to, you pretty much had to duel. And you didn't have to in the end. You could just say no, and the duel wouldn't proceed. However, though, back then, people valued something called honor a lot. Like, honor was extremely important to people back then in that time period. Like, even in the Wild West, honor, you know, people valued honor a lot. Like, it was extremely important. And what basically happened was, if somebody insulted you, and literally, and they challenged you to a duel, and you refused to duel them, basically what would happen at that point is you would be seen as a coward, but also you would be seen as that guy who refused to duel, who refused to defend his honor. And so if you lived in like a small town, like let's say that you lived in a small town back then, right? And so you're in a tavern, you know, which would be like the equivalent of a bar back then. And you have some guy that just starts, you know, being aggressive towards you, insulting you, just, you know, and you get into a bit of an argument. And you tell the guy to get the hell out of here. And then the guy basically just challenges you to a duel. And he says, let's take this outside, let's duel right now. And if you refuse to duel him, everybody in that town would remember you as that guy who refused to duel. And you would have a lot of shame. And so that's why people went to those duels. Even though they didn't want to, they did because they cared about their view, they cared about their reputation. And they didn't want their reputation to be soiled. I know it's kind of ridiculous in today's standards, but back then that's how it worked. Is that if you didn't duel, you would be seen as not defending your honor. And so that's generally why people dueled even though they didn't want to. But in regards to Hamilton's duel, Hamilton did the honorable thing when he shot the gun in the air. It was basically like a thing to basically show Burr. He's like, I'm done arguing. This is over. Let's end this once and for all. And Burr could have done the honorable thing and just shot his gun in the air too, and it would have been over. Both men would have walked away. They probably still wouldn't have liked each other, but they could have at least ended that feud somewhat. But the fact that Hamilton had shot his gun up in the air saying he's not going to duel, and then Burr still shot him anyways, that was, you know, so scummy. So that was, yeah, that was just what I say. Is there a goal for the fundraiser? Not really. We're just, you know, raising money, however much we can. And I'm going to have this campaign in a lot of my videos, so a lot of my videos you guys will see. I'll have this campaign linked to it. Once we hit the 2-hour mark, I'll make a donation again. Every hour I donate. What made you change your channel to not cursing? It's not just about the monetization. It's just something. It's just I don't curse myself anymore. Really. The most that I'll ever curse in a video, you guys might see me say "what the hell" or "damn." Like I might say that, but that's like the most that I'll say. I won't really say more than that. And the reason I don't, the main reason I don't curse, it's not the YouTube monetization. That's part of it, sure. It's not the main reason. The main reason I don't curse is because I see it as unprofessional personally. When, you know, somebody's just constantly cursing, dropping F-bombs or something like that, I just don't see it as professional. And so it's just like, you know, I don't want people coming to my channel and just seeing me, you know, curse about something, or getting pissed off about something. So that's just generally what it's about mostly. Thank you, Eric, for sponsoring my channel. Thanks, man. Oh, and thank you, Calamity. I'm sorry I didn't see your donation earlier. Yeah, but I, you know, if I lived back then, I probably would, like, you know, during those time periods, I probably would have been an anti-federalist, like, against just the Federalist, the Federalist Party, because the government was just growing and growing bigger and bigger, and it was yeah. But here's the thing: is that what a lot of people actually don't know is that when America was first founded as a country, there was actually very little to no taxes. The vast majority of the tax revenue at that time period actually came from alcohol. So alcohol would be taxed back then. And that's alcohol and tobacco. That's mostly where the government's revenue came from. But how did the U.S. fund itself if it just relied on alcohol and tobacco? The reason for that was a few. The first reason is America has traditionally had a very small military. A lot of people actually don't know that. But the founding fathers never actually believed in a large military. They were against a large military, and they believed more. The founding fathers believed more in the citizens being the militia. They believed more in the citizens being, having the arms. They generally didn't like the idea of a large, powerful military. But traditionally in American history, America has had a very small military for most of its history. A lot of people actually don't know this, but for hundreds of years, America has had a very small military. Like, for example, whenever there was a war, America would mobilize its forces. Like, the Civil War had the largest mobilization in American history. And so during the Civil War, the Lincoln brought in the federal income tax during the Civil War to pay for the military, because he needed a way to pay for it. They needed a way to pay for the cannons, the muskets, the supplies, the trains, the uniforms, to stop the Confederacy. And then once the Civil Wars ended, the government actually repealed the federal income tax. And what they did was they disbanded the military. So they made the military much smaller. And they kept the military maybe like 10 to 20,000 men. And the same thing happened during the Spanish-American War. During the Spanish-American War, when we went to war with Spain, we mobilized a pretty large military. And then right after that, we actually disbanded the military, right after the war ended. The same thing happened in World War I. World War I, we mobilized a pretty large military. And then right after the war ended, we disbanded the military. And then in World War II, we mobilized a pretty large military, but we didn't disband the military after the World War II. And after World War II, we kept a large military. So for hundreds of years in our country's history, we maybe had like 10 to 20,000 max in the military. We had a very small military. The reason that we kept a large military after World War II is because of the Soviet Union, because of the Cold War. Because at that time, people thought that there was going to be a third world war, and we wanted to be ready, and we thought the Soviets were going to invade the rest of Europe any time. And that's what it was mostly about. It was that. And so even after the Soviet Union collapsed, the military was still kept very large to this day, and it keeps expanding and expanding. But the U.S. mostly got their money from tariffs back then, so it was like taxes. It was taxes that other countries would pay in. So when other countries would bring in goods, they would get taxed. And so because of that, America had like the lowest taxes in the world at that time. So that's how America managed to fund itself back then, even with such low taxes. That's generally what it was about. Okay, I'll wait for the invite to the business whenever you guys are ready here. Well, that's partially true, Harry. Basically what happened was during the Civil War, they brought in a federal income tax, the first one, but then it was repealed after the Civil War. When Woodrow Wilson was president, he brought in the federal income tax. He brought that in. And that's why a lot of people consider Woodrow Wilson one of the worst presidents in American history, because Woodrow Wilson enlarged the American government so much, he brought in the federal income tax. Woodrow Wilson was also extremely racist. He was not a pleasant man. So it was Woodrow Wilson also threw people in jail for protesting against the war. So he suspended civil liberties. So it was that during World War I, if you protested against the war, this is World War I, not World War II, but in World War I, if you protested against the war, then you get thrown in jail during Woodrow Wilson's presidency. So that's why Woodrow Wilson, I don't think he was a good president at all. He was just racist. He expanded the federal government a lot. He threw people in jail who didn't agree with him. So I just don't like him. He was just a bad president in my view. I like to read a lot. I like to read history generally a lot, and whenever I play games set in historical periods, I can talk about them a bit. If I ever do an Assassin's Creed 3 playthrough, I'll do Assassin's Creed 3 one day. I can talk so much about the American Revolution, and I can talk about what's accurate and what's not accurate in the game. What I will tell you, what was kind of historically accurate in Assassin's Creed 3 was actually Charles Lee. Charles Lee was a scumbag in real life. Like, he's the main bad guy in Assassin's Creed 3. He was a scumbag. Like, he was like not a nice man. And so he was, I thought his depiction in Assassin's Creed 3 was actually pretty good. Like, the whole Templar thing is obviously nonsense, but it was, Charles Lee was a scumbag in real life, though. He was, Yeah. And Charles Lee and George Washington hated each other. They hated each other. So it was always about, and also, if Charles Lee became the commander-in-chief, not George Washington, there's a huge chance that he could have declared himself dictator, because Charles Lee was a pretty power-hungry guy, and so George Washington was never power-hungry. George Washington just fought for the revolution because it's a cause he believed in. George Washington disbanded his power. He got rid of his power after the war, but Charles Lee probably wouldn't have done that. Okay, let's get over this boat here. We'll do this. Hey, how are you, Pro Lord? What's your opinion on John Adams' presidency? John Adams brought stability. So it was that George Washington was our first president, but John Adams brought stability. Thomas Jefferson, I would say that Thomas Jefferson probably brought in a lot more individual liberty. And Thomas Jefferson also expanded America, the greatest, during the Louisiana Purchase. So that was, John Adams also kept us out of a war, so that was that's what was good about John Adams' presidency. Okay. I never really watched Miami Vice that much. I know that the guy that one of the guys in Miami Vice does the voice for Lance in Vice City. My personal favorite president, I would say that I think the best president of all time would have to probably be George Washington. And the reason for that was because George Washington founded the country. He was not a perfect man. He did some bad things, sure, but without him, there would be no country, and so that's why I think he's probably the most important president, and also because he's one of the few leaders in history that actually willingly stepped down from power. December 23rd is when he stepped down from power. You ever hear about that when a leader gives up power? Never hear about that. So, I would say that for a more modern, president, I would say that my favorite would probably have to be Teddy Roosevelt. I like Teddy Roosevelt because of just, Teddy Roosevelt, there was peace during his presidency. There wasn't really any wars we were involved in. He was, he cracked down on monopolies. He took down trusts. He introduced, the reforms into, meat packing plants. He introduced safety and health inspectors. So, whenever you see health inspectors come into restaurants today, that's Teddy Roosevelt who did that. And health inspectors were one of the best things that Teddy Roosevelt did. One of the best things, because imagine no health inspectors. Imagine how bad that would be. And the thing is, I generally don't like big government. I generally don't like government getting involved in the economy and stuff like that. But I do think that health inspectors are important, and I do think that health inspectors are very, very relevant and very important. Because if for somebody who thinks that health inspectors aren't necessary, just watch Kitchen Nightmares if you don't think that health inspectors are necessary. Because Kitchen Nightmares, there's so many kitchens that you see on that show where it's literally the kitchens are just a giant mess. And thank God for health inspectors. But honestly, watching Kitchen Nightmares has made me scared to eat at restaurants. Just watching that show. Yeah, Panama Canal too. He did a lot, so it was, Teddy Roosevelt did a, pretty good job when he was president. What do you think of Nixon, Pro? Nixon, I think, was Nixon was a very smart man. He was a very smart man, but he had issues. And, he had the Watergate scandal, which that was that. What I'll say about Nixon is, Nixon did help calm things down. He brought some stability. Nixon went to China during the Cold War, and he kind of calmed things down with China. Because basically what Nixon did was he drew China away from Russia, which was a good thing. Because at that time, the Soviet Union and China were having like a split, an argument, even though both were communist countries. And Nixon basically like went to China and tried to calm things down and got China a little bit away from the Soviet Union. And that was generally a good thing. That did help during the Cold War. You know, he had the Watergate scandal later on that was stupid. You know, he shouldn't have done that. He did resign in the end. But I'll tell you something. I saw an interview with Nixon in like the 1990s, and he basically he said what was really scary about Nixon's interview is Nixon like predicted that Putin, basically he predicted that that Russia would be taken over by Putin and all that. You can watch Nixon's interview in the 90s. He doesn't mention Putin by name, but he basically says that that we have to help Russia turn into a democracy. We have to help Russia modernize and change its ways. Because he said if we don't help Russia right now, he said Russia was like in poverty at that time. It was like the Soviet Union had collapsed, and Nixon basically said if we don't help Russia right now and Russia continues to keep falling into poverty, he said that a dictatorship might come to power in Russia, and that dictatorship might be extremely hostile to the West and might blame the West for all of Russia's problems in the future and might be very aggressive. And so he basically pretty much called out what happened to Russia in the future. He said Russia would fall to a dictatorship, and the dictatorship would be very hostile towards the West and would blame the West for all of its problems. And so he pretty much called it what had happened with it. So it was I personally think that it was a mistake that the government did not help Russia after the Cold War. After the Cold War, the government should have helped Russia. We should have sent aid to Russia and should have helped Russia, because Russia was in absolute poverty when the Soviet Union collapsed. But what happened was, when the Soviet Union collapsed, the West didn't really help Russia at all, and Russia just fell into absolute poverty, and the Russian mafia came to power, and it was really bad, and all the oligarchs and the Russian billionaires, and eventually Russia turned into a dictatorship. If we actually helped Russia out after the Cold War had ended, Russia probably wouldn't have fallen into a dictatorship, and Putin probably would not exist today, and we probably would not have any wars with Russia. Russia would not be starting any wars today. But that was one of the biggest mistakes that I think the West did, is that they didn't help Russia modernize. They should have helped Russia. They should have probably helped Russia become a democracy after the Soviet Union collapsed, and Russia would have probably been a stable country today. But unfortunately, it's a very unstable country today, and not a very safe place to be. So that's yeah. But look up Nixon's interview on Russia, and he pretty much predicted what would happen. So he was a very smart man.
We should grab a beer or something.
Okay, let's get over this drop-off. Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. That was in the Korean War, right? Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Unconverting. Thank you for the donation. Thank you, everybody who has donated during the stream. Thoughts on Brezhnev? Brezhnev, you could argue, brought the Soviet Union down. Just with his... Brezhnev was the guy who had built the RBMK reactors, the reactors that were in Chernobyl. He was responsible for that, and he was also responsible for starting the Soviet-Afghan War. So yeah, I would say that Brezhnev caused a lot of problems. Well, I don't know about that, Ronnie. Like I said, Nixon was not a, Nixon, I wouldn't say Nixon was a good person. He had the Watergate scandal, which was, very bad. But he did correctly predict Russia's dictatorship. He did correctly predict that. And so that was, he was spot on with that prediction. Yeah, and it's like I said, is that... That was probably the bit, if when the Soviet Union collapsed, if the West helped Russia after the Soviet Union collapsed and sent them aid, helped them get their infrastructure back under control, help them modernize, Russia would be a thriving democracy today. Because the West didn't help Russia, Russia fell into absolute poverty, corruption, and because of that corruption, you had Putin come to power, and him and his government have just destroyed Russia. So it's Russia would not be in the state that it is today if the West would have probably helped Russia when the Soviet Union collapsed. We had a chance to help modernize Russia at that time, but we didn't take it. Oh, hey, Alex Pro. Thank you, Unconverting. Thank you for the donation. Thanks, man. You don't know that to be a fact. Sure, we don't know that to be a fact 100%, but it's, it was the Russian dictatorship Putin's dictatorship came to power because of all the corruption that was going on in Russia. There was a lot of poverty in Russia. You had billionaires that were stealing stuff, Soviet government property. They were auctioning it off. And, you know, Putin was former KGB. You know, and then he was head of the FSB. He was a master manipulator. He moved his way up. I'm not saying everything would have been just, you know, solved if the West had helped, but I think that, you know, I think that's probably like, you know, I think that generally, like, you know, we should have tried to help Russia become a democracy, because Russia probably would not have fallen to dictatorship as it is today if, Are you a shy person? Kind of. I'm not very open in public to talking to people, but you know, hopefully one day Putin's gone and we have peace and it's, you know, it's over. And Russia can modernize and, you know, become an actual free country. Okay. Oh, thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. I don't know much about that, Justin. Do I think what, Edgy? What's the most recent president that you'll talk about? Cold War, probably. Like, you know, I'm not going to talk about any modern presidents. I stay away from politics, generally. Okay, let's deliver this here. Have you heard about the Russo-Japanese War? Yes, that was, Russia got destroyed by Japan in that war. We helped Germany post-World War II, so we should also help Russia post-USSR, yeah. Well, we helped, the US was very generous and helped, like, Germany and Japan rebuild, and also helped, like, a lot of other countries rebuild after the World War II. But also a huge part of that was we helped countries that were on the brink of collapse. We helped them out because we didn't want them falling to communism. But because... Oh, man. But because, hang on a second. I got this. It's okay. Helped out here. But we didn't want countries falling to communism. But we didn't think about the fact that when the Soviet Union collapsed, communism was gone there. And we didn't think about the fact of what could happen in Russia afterwards. Because the thing is, though, is if you look at how dictatorships come to power, you look at a lot of them. And it's the same thing in a lot of European countries. Like, look at fascist Spain, for instance. Look at fascist Italy. Look at Nazi Germany. Look at the Soviet Union. These were all, you know, these were all countries with dictatorships. And look at Russia today. You know, do you know what all those countries have in similarity? It's how the dictator comes to power. The dictator came to power almost very similar in almost all those countries that I listed. The only thing a little bit different is that Spain and Russia both had a civil war where their dictatorships came to power. But the other ones is that what's similar is that the countries that become dictatorships, how they become dictatorships is that all of those countries experience harsh economic conditions. So whenever there's like a country that has like a lot of really bad conditions, like people are living paycheck to paycheck, like it's really bad, like very, very, people are very poor, they're struggling, the chances of that country turning into a dictatorship increases a lot. Dictatorships almost always never, they do happen in rich countries, but they're much more rare to happen in rich countries. Because whenever there's a poor country, when there's people struggling to eat, what happens is people are going to look to a lot of leaders for that to help them out. And so some leader is going to come to power, typically very authoritarian, and he's going to say, I have the solution to all your problems, make me your leader. And that's generally how these dictatorships come to power. That's what happened in fascist Italy. In Italy, basically what happened was, after World War I, the Italian king, King Emanuele, did not rebuild any of Italy's infrastructure. Like, Italy had blown up train stations, blown up schools, blown up hospitals from World War I, and the king did nothing to fix that infrastructure. People were struggling, and they were getting really pissed off. And what basically happened was, Mussolini at that time told the king, make me dictator, and I'll fix all these problems for you. That's what basically happened. And so he made Mussolini dictator so that he could fix all of the problems. If you look at Nazi Germany, for example, Germany was extremely poor. They had one of the worst hit countries during the Great Depression. Hitler comes to power and he claims that he has all the solutions to everything, and people believed him. And so, you look at Spain, for example, fascist Spain, Franco, when he came to power during the Civil War, said, I have the solution to all the problems. And then the same exact thing happens in Russia in modern day. Modern day Russia is, Russia was like, after the Cold War happened, Russia was like in a very bad economic standard. Like, what a lot of people don't talk about is that in the West, we generally celebrate the fall of the Soviet Union because it was generally for us at least, it was a good thing because we don't have to worry about the Soviet Union anymore, it's gone. But in Russia, the fall of the Soviet Union was very bad for a lot of people. And the reason it was very bad for a lot of people is because people lost their homes, they lost their livelihoods, they lost, their way of life. And what happened was, there was massive poverty in Russia. Well, there was poverty during the Soviet Union, but it got really bad, after the Soviet Union collapsed. And the Russian mafia came to power. There was crime all over the place. These oligarchs, the reason that Russia has so many billionaires is because those billionaires were former directors of, like, Soviet government, like, agencies and factories, and they stole everything. They stole government property, and they sold it off. And that's how they became so rich. And then what ended up happening is Putin came to power in that confusion. Putin came to power in that economic trouble, and he basically told the Russian people, I have the solution to all your problems. And Putin was also former KGB. He was former FSB. He was the leader of the FSB, is the successor to the KGB. And so he's a master manipulator. And that's how he came to power. Is he basically, dictators know how to exploit people. They're master manipulators. They know how to talk to people when people are facing economic uncertainty. And they tell people, you're poor, but I'll help you. You won't be poor anymore. Support me. I have the answer to all the problems. I'll get the country back on track. And so people look to these authoritarian leaders to help them. And that's generally how dictatorships come to power. And that's why what I was getting at earlier is that if the West had helped Russia, like if we sent, like, if I could go back in time and I could do one different thing, like what I would have done to stop Putin's dictatorship, if I could go back like 30 years, what I would have done is if I was president of the U.S., I would have approved aid packages to Russia, like massive packages to help Russia, and I would have encouraged all the other NATO countries to also send aid to Russia and help Russia rebuild their infrastructure, help Russia clean up the crime, get rid of the mafia, get rid of the oligarchs and everything like that, and we could have modernized Russia, and it could have been a successful, dictatorship. Because the West did nothing, didn't help at all, and Russia went into absolute poverty, and then you had the dictator come to power, and now we have this mess today. Just dictator, Putin just invading other countries. So that's generally like, what I think it was that's generally like what I think was like one of the biggest mistakes is the West made, is that they didn't help Russia after the Cold War. And because of that, now we have to deal with the effects of that, and we have to deal with the, this psycho dictator in Russia, and you don't know what the next thing he's going to do is. Okay. Got all of that delivered with 2 more drops here. Do you think the Roman Empire deserved to fail? I'm trying to think. The Roman Empire was a very complicated civilization. It was. Because every century of the Roman Empire was different. Some centuries were good, other centuries were bad. there were certain Roman emperors that were good and did help Rome, prosper and help their people. But then you had other emperors like Caligula and Nero that were psycho and did some really horrible things. What I will say though is that here's the thing about this is that if the Roman Empire had never collapsed, the Catholic Church would never be as strong as it is today. It depends whether you think that's a good thing or not. That's what I'll say about that. Is the Catholic Church is so powerful today because of the fall of the Roman Empire. Why? Well, a lot of people don't know that. The reason is because even though Constantine was like a Roman emperor who declared himself Christian, Rome technically still was not a Christian empire, despite what people think about that. And what ended up happening is when during Roman times, Rome would generally protect its citizens. So if you were a Roman citizen, generally it was safe, and you didn't have to worry about that much. There was still crime, obviously, but the Roman legions had patrolled roads, and so it was generally safe. So you could go from one town to another if you lived in ancient Rome, and you didn't really have to worry about that much stuff because the legionnaires were there to protect you if something bad happened. When Rome collapsed overnight and the whole empire fell apart, do you know what ended up happening is the barbarians invaded Rome, and the barbarians, and then the Huns, and then the highwaymen. And basically Rome turned into absolute chaos and absolute anarchy. And the reason that this was so bad is because what would happen is, back then, the legionnaires would protect you when you go from town to town. But once Rome fell, what happened was, when you went from one town to another, you had to watch out for barbarians. Barbarians could jump you when you're going from one town to another, or the Huns could jump you, or the highwaymen could jump you. And highwaymen were basically bandits that would wait in the roads and just jump you the second that you would travel in between town, and they'd kill you. And so what happened was people got really scared. It was very dangerous, it was very unsafe, and so they turned to the church for help. And the church basically got aristocrats together. And the aristocrats built the manor system, so this is where feudal Europe happened. The aristocrats built basically these small villages, and the villages had big walls around them. And the aristocrat would live in a mansion in these manors. And he would tell the peasants, come into my manor and I'll protect you. I'll keep you safe from the barbarians and the Huns and the highwaymen and all those people. And you'll be safe here. And so the peasants would go to the aristocrat, and they would go live there, and in exchange for security. But their rights were violated. Their human rights were violated, and it was a scam, because the aristocrat, what he would do at that point is he would take 70% of the crops. So he would tax the peasants and take 70% of their crops, and the peasants would barely have enough to make a living. And so the manor lord had knights to basically enforce his will. And so the peasants couldn't leave the manor either. They were held there against their will. And so what happened was that's how the monarchies back then were funded. The aristocrat would take a cut of the taxes from the peasants and give that to the king. And that's how the king would allow the aristocrat to run. And if you tried to question the king, and if you tried to question the aristocrat, the church would basically say to you back then, you can't question us. If you question the king, you question God. And you don't want to question God. And so people were very desperate back then. They were desperate. They were scared. They wanted safety. They wanted security. And that's what ended up happening. That's one of the reasons the church got so powerful in Europe, was because of the fall of the Roman Empire. So all these bandits and all these people, they were going around and just killing people. And so a lot of people actually don't know that part of history. They don't know about that. Now, and I'm not even saying the church was necessarily a bad force, but the church did have a lot of corruption and did do some bad things throughout its history. But that's just an explanation of how the Catholic Church became so powerful. It was specifically that. That was the reason for it. It was the fall of the Roman Empire and the security. And about these manors is these manors are actually what the American founding fathers despised this system. The American founding fathers despised feudalism. They despised that system. And that's that famous quote that you have. Ben Franklin, the guy who's on the $100 bill, he said in a famous quote, he said, "Those who sacrifice their liberty for security deserve neither security nor liberty." And that is what Ben Franklin was talking about. He was talking about those manners, and he was talking about the people who looked up to the king, because back then, you couldn't question the king. And even though the king in British society was not a very religious monarch, you generally did not want to question the king, because it was generally believed that the king gets his right to rule from God. So even though Britain was not an absolute monarchy, it was generally believed that the king had gotten his right to rule from God. And so you didn't want to question the king, because in that essence you would question God. And so that's basically what Ben Franklin was getting at there, is that is it worth sacrificing your security? Is it worth sacrificing your liberty, your human rights, your freedom, in order to feel more safe? Is that worth it? I don't think it's worth it, personally. I value liberty, I value human rights, I value freedom of speech, I value that much more over security. I do value security too, but I think that people should never put security over human rights, because the second you put security over human rights, you know what you get? You get dictatorship. That's exactly what you get. And that's, I guess, Mario, what do you think about the Ottomans? What I'll say about the Ottomans is that the Ottomans were, it depends on the time period. Because when you had Suleiman, who became the Sultan, Suleiman was a more tolerant sultan than some of the other Ottoman sultans. But other times, like, the Ottoman Empire was very brutal at times. Like, you know, with what they did in Constantinople, for example, that was a bit brutal. The Ottomans would allow generally freedom of religion in their empire. However, though, if you were not Muslim in the Ottoman Empire, you were taxed. So the government would actually force you to pay taxes. So you'd actually pay a higher tax if you were not Muslim. So that was discrimination against Christians, against Jews, against any religion that is not Muslim. So the Ottomans did discriminate heavily. The Ottomans were also involved in a lot of invasions. They invaded a lot of countries. They tried to push into the Balkan states. They actually did take a lot of the Balkan states over, and then right before World War I, a few years before that, you had the Balkan Wars, where the Ottomans actually lost their foothold in Europe because of that specifically. Okay, let's get this drop off here. The Ottoman Empire had a lot of scientific advancements. They did. I think it's called the Aristotle, or no, not them. Not I'm not that one. That was a philosopher, I believe. But it was they had that device which they could put on ships back then, which they could navigate the seas. So the Ottoman Empire had a lot of scientific discoveries that were very helpful to this day. But they were also they could also be very brutal. And for example, it was that what ended up bringing down the Ottoman Empire in the end was the Young Turks. That's what brought down the Ottoman Empire in the end. And a lot of people, when I say the Young Turks, people are probably thinking I'm talking about some YouTube channel, but no, it's not. I'm not talking about the YouTube channel. I'm talking about the Young Turks political group, the political party. Look up the Young Turks. They were an actual political party that existed in the Ottoman Empire, and they brought down the Ottoman Empire. They were responsible for the fall of it, in my opinion. The Young Turks were basically a fascist organization. That's pretty much what they were. They were Turkish supremacists. They believed that Turks were superior to everyone else, and they believed that Turks had more rights than non-Turks. The Ottoman Empire was actually not made up mostly of Turks. Turks were the center part of it, sure. They were the ones who ran it mostly. But the Ottoman Empire had a lot of territories that were not Turks. The Ottoman Empire had Greeks, they had Armenians, they had Arabs. They had a lot of people that were not Turkish. And what happened was the Young Turks treated anybody that was not Turkish like garbage. So if anybody here has played Battlefield 1, you guys know Battlefield 1 when you played the Lawrence of Arabia campaign? Remember that? When you play the Middle Eastern missions and you're fighting against the Ottomans. Those people that was in modern day Syria and Iraq, those missions. And the reason that they fought, the Arabs fought against the Ottomans, even though they were part of the Ottoman Empire, was because the Ottomans treated the Arab people like garbage. They treated them really badly. they did not give Arabs the same equal rights that Turks did. And so the Arabs got really mad about that and revolted. That's why the Arab Revolt happened. And what happened was Great Britain and France actually promised to the Arab people that they would be independent after they overthrew the Ottomans. But Britain and France actually did not honor that. And Britain actually took Iraq as their colony, and France took Syria as their colony. And Lawrence of Arabia actually became extremely depressed later in life because he felt like he let all those people down. He felt like he fought for their freedom, and for those people just to get screwed over like that in the end. But that was about that. But I personally think that it's like the Young Turks were also the people that were responsible for the Armenian genocide, which is the worst crime, where they killed somewhere between 1 million to 2 million Armenians. So that was the worst crime that I would say of the Young Turks. And it was really bad though that there's like a YouTube channel today that's actually named after that. There's like, I think that's like really bad. I think that it's very bad that there's like a YouTube channel named after that personally, because there's like the Young Turks were very, very bad people, the political party. So that was hope that answered your history question, what I think of the Ottoman Empire. But also, guys, is you know, modern day Turkey. To this day, a lot of people don't know about this. Modern day Turkey does deny the Armenian genocide, so they do deny that that happened. But know that all the donations of the charity have nothing to do with the Turkish government. They go to Doctors Without Borders, which is Doctors Without Borders is a non-government organization, and nothing to do with the Turkish or the Syrian government, and they're just there to help people. So just know that none of the donations have nothing to do with the Turkish government. So just know that. It's about helping the people. It's about that. Okay, these last drops are easy. I actually know that quote, Ricky. I know that. That was that argument that happened once. I don't know much about that, Justin. That's a very very generous citizenship program, Firestorm. Okay, deliver this here. That was really quick. Okay, yeah. 5 minutes, very fast delivery. Okay, let me make my donation live here. I do it every hour. Okay. Okay, there we go. I made a donation there. But again, guys, like I said, you know, I know that there's a lot of people that don't like the Turkish government. I've seen a lot of comments, you know, before when I did this stream. But this is about helping the people in Turkey and Syria. And so this charity has nothing to do with the Turkish government and nothing to do with the Syrian government. It goes directly to the people. It goes to doctors who distribute medical aid and that to help people. So Just everyone know that. I made a $100 donation just now.
Life sucks, then you die.
Whatever.
Doctors Without Borders is a very reliable charity. You can look it up. There's I looked up the charity. I researched them. They're a very reliable charity. Okay, let's do a heist right now. Do a heist. Oh, air checkpoints. Oh, wait. You know what? I haven't done air checkpoints in some time. I want to do this. Oh, it... Howard, there we go. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Oh, $50 donation. If you want your name to appear, just hit the check mark. Thank you for it. Mark, hold on. I want to do air checkpoints because I actually really like air checkpoints.
Go back to your whole shit, dick.
Scared I was gonna hit the tip, that's why. Yeah, this is like the best one, my favorite free mode event personally, but it's not that popular, common I should say on here. here. No, I don't really want to do Doomsday Heist. I'd rather do a casino heist or a Cayo Perico, but it's much more chill and melon. Chat in just one moment, guys. I'm just trying to hit as many of these checkpoints as I can. This is going to be a bit of a challenge right here. Oh, well, that's high up. Okay, yeah. Probably wouldn't be able to go up a plane like this, like in real life. I'd probably stall. Okay. Well, thank you, Chassis Rooney. Thank you for the donation. I'll do Casino or Cayo Perico. Yeah, 50 checkpoints. I think we did pretty good, right? Thank you, Chaz, for that donation. Thank you, Anonymous, earlier for the $50. somebody need help with a heist, right? Okay, do this heist here. Thank you everybody who has donated so far. I don't really watch the Super Bowl much. I'm not into stuff like that personally.
Alright, there.
Okay, and we're getting a full team here?
30 people.
3 people? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do it then, yeah. Okay, okay,
Alright, I'm ready when you guys are.
Give me the lowest cut. I don't, I just want to help.
Alright.
Oh, it's Young Ancestor?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be hard. Okay.
No, it's easy. I've done it. You just gotta follow my lead. Bro, you're pretty low for me, honestly.
Yeah, let's see here. What do I'll do this one here. Okay. It is saying you cannot donate in this region. Oh. Well, I do appreciate you trying. I'm sorry you're not able to. What I hate about this approach is you have to watch the cutscene each time.
It's not what you know, it's who you know, people. Your new best friend, yeah, he's a great guy to know if you want to get into the back room of a casino. But there's a chance you'll be that sketchy.
What's your thoughts on the Louisiana Purchase? Well, it was France. You know, Napoleon sold that to America, and Thomas Jefferson did expand America's territory greatly with that. But there was some land in the Louisiana Purchase that was, I would say that land was belonged to a lot of Native American tribes, and they were not very happy with that either. So that wasn't entirely right. Thank you, Paradox, for the thank you for the donation.
Your friend assures us that he has access to the back, so let's hope he does. Otherwise, you've been getting your hands dirty for nothing.
Oh, thank you, Slickers, for subscribing. Thank you.
Every day you're welcomed into a celebrity entourage, so you know what? Fine, enjoy yourselves. I don't want to make any insinuations here, but how stable did your friend seem to you? Maybe we should think about paying him a visit.
You must be with the VIP crew, huh? Head upstairs. Trust me.
Okay, I'll see you, Gupta. Take care, man.
I'm sorry, I can let them into the office, but not into the back.
Look, they're here now, and you making me look like a fucking asshole.
I promise you there is nothing interesting back there.
Can you get your boss online? Mr. D, where is he?
Mr. Duggan?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's boxing in the gym with his PR guy.
Well, go speak to him, okay? Fuck.
Hey.
Ooh, I promise you, this will all be cool. So fucked
Just wait right here.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks. She knows, man. She fucking knows.
We're cool, man.
Thank you,
Mr.
Anonymous,
D's
for the
gonna deal with
donation.
this.
No.
Loves guys like
This
us.
shit too fucked up, man. I'm too famous for this shit, bro. I can't go to jail. I can't go to jail.
Chill.
What you mean, chill? You know what they do to me in jail? Wait. Fuck. This is a fucking
Whoa, hey,
setup.
whoa,
huh?
put it down, man.
You setting us up for what?
You, bro. I'm with you.
Oh, yeah? How about I ice you and I ice her and we get the fuck out of here?
Ice, don't, wait. Wait, look. The key card. It's right there, bro.
Oh, shit.
My leg.
My bad, bro.
He's
Fuck.
not in there.
You cool or what?
Yeah, I'll be cool, man.
Is
Real
everything
cool.
okay?
I have no idea.
No, I shot myself.
Yeah.
Like an idiot.
Fucking weird.
Oh my god.
Can you get me to a doctor, please?
Yeah, of course. Come with me here.
Do I look pale? Do you?
Don't touch me.
I'm feeling faint, bro. I think I'm bleeding out.
Get the fucking thing off the fucking table and get out of here.
Oh, he's all glitched through the door. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that looked relaxing. For a moment, I didn't think you were gonna get back there. Go down the hall until you get to the staircase. Then go down to the ground floor and make your way to the vault. You're coming up on the staff lobby, so remember to stay out of sight.
I'll wait for
You're
you
not
guys to get
supposed
over
to
here.
be there. If you blow your cover, you'll need to start fighting.
Alright.
Through here.
We can run past over here.
This
We won't get
pass gets you into
detected.
the office and hotel. But if anyone sees you in the staff lobby, expect a confrontation. You can take the elevator down to the vault if you're up to hacking its security control.
Hold up.
Whoa,
What the hell
whoa,
are you
whoa.
doing here?
Whoa. This ain't no VIP lounge. Go back.
Alright, good.
No, got
What the-
detected. It said I detected them.
The jig's up. Just get to the vault, however. Oh!
This, I guess retry this
I'll
then.
already stay here.
Hey, you can't be here.
Wait, what happened?
I don't know. I ran past them and they detected me.
You gotta make sure not to stand in their vision cone too long, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like all of us should, like, run, like, stay close together.
Okay, retry. I gotta go run downstairs again. At least I don't gotta watch a cutscene again.
Relaxing. For a moment, I didn't think
Yeah,
you were
make sure
gonna
you have
get
no
back
gun
there.
out too. I just saw the stream right
Go
now.
down the hall until you get to the staircase. Then go down to the ground floor and make your way to the
You don't have
vault.
to worry about those guards.
You're coming up on the staff lobby, so remember to stay out of
Alright,
sight.
follow me and Shaggy
You're
for it. Do not
supposed
take
to
any
be
guns
there.
out.
If you blow your cover, you'll need to start fighting.
You can't be here.
You got beef with me?
Whoa. This ain't no VIP lounge.
Yep, there.
Back to the
I
main
feel that
floor.
was easy.
Oh,
What?
crap. The jig's up. Just get to the vault however you can.
Yeah, I don't like this approach personally.
Oh no, this place is off limits. All right.
Dude, this is a broken heist. What the hell?
Kind of weird how it always zooms in on part of the railroad tracks in the countryside. I don't know.
Well, that looked relaxing. For a moment, I didn't think you were gonna get back there.
Done this a bunch of times too, and we didn't
Go
get
down the hall until
detected.
you get to the staircase. Then go down to the ground
Those
floor
just rocks
and make
are
your way to the
glitchy.
vault.
Can't wait for
Coming
you
up on
guys
the
to
staff
go.
lobby, so
I don't
I don't
remember
do
to
this one a
stay
lot,
out of
this
sight.
heist.
You're not supposed
This
to
approach,
be
at
there.
least.
If you blow your cover, you'll need to start fighting.
You can't
Hey,
be here.
you can't be here.
The hell are you doing here?
This ain't no VIP lounge. Go back to the main floor.
Okay,
You can
we're
take the
good.
elevator down to the vault if you're up to hacking its security control. Otherwise,
Hold
use
on,
the
this guard is
stairs.
over here. This guard's over here.
You can't be here.
Oh!
Got him.
Behind that big door is the daily cash storage. There should be an access button in the security room if you want to
Okay.
try for the extra take.
Alright, we're good here.
Wait right here till he comes up.
He doesn't come up here in this
Oh.
approach.
Okay.
But there's gonna be 2 guards over here, hold on. Okay, this one's going in that room.
These guys, I'm assuming you can't just run past them.
Yeah. Hold on, see if this guard's coming here. This guard's coming over here.
Which way?
The right side. I'll take him out.
Okay. Thank you, Go to the Beach. Thank you for the donation. Thanks, man. Another guard coming in now. I got him.
Yep,
Hold on.
I see him.
I got him.
Whoa!
There we go.
Okay.
Alright, we're coming.
Waiting for the camera to move. Okay.
I got a trick, hold on, this will work. How brain dead is this game, bro?
Okay, we got it. Okay. Thank you, Paradox, for the
Go.
donation. Okay, there we go. Good work. Do you have power drills?
I'm normally for diamonds, I only do it like, I don't use power drills unless we have 4.
Okay.
Okay, so far so bueno. Push on to the vault. Ha! Looks like the guard at the vault room isn't there. Happy days. Okay, we made it here. Get out your equipment and get into the vault. You need to drill your way through multiple discs in order to break the vault door lock. Keep an eye on your temperature gauge. Don't waste a lot of effort by going too quick. Okay, disc 1 is done on this side. Number 2 done. That's disc 3.
The other person already finished drilling?
Hold on. Shaggy, I'll do it.
This
Hold on.
part. This drill's a little bit more complicated, but I got it. Okay.
Yeah, he told me that he just told me.
Good, that's the left side taken care of.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Thanks, man.
Alright, number 4. There. Yeah, Shaggy told me like his thumbstick. Alright, there we go.
I'm getting left.
Diamonds, of course. I should have guessed. Good news. Seeing as we stayed under the radar, we have a little more time here. Now, your hacker can block the security sensors while you're in the vault, but only for a while. If the system goes quiet for too long, it triggers the alarm as a failsafe. And, did I mention that if the alarm goes off in here, they'll flood the place with nerve agent? No? Okay, well, I'm mentioning it now.
There we go. Oh, great, another one. There we go, okay. Oh, Secura served paid during this? Okay, weird. Okay. Okay. Oh, what? Okay, go. And Shaggy, just get B now and we'll be good here. I think we'll get everything.
Yeah, we will.
How did you get diamonds on the heist?
40 seconds.
What?
How did you get diamonds on the heist?
They're 40% more this week, or they're 40% chance this week.
Oh, okay.
30 seconds.
Okay, good take, everyone. Okay.
In and out undetected.
Okay, do it.
Who'd have
Go.
thought it? People, that is the mother load. We cleaned them out. All right, now stay calm. Back the way you came, through the checkpoint. Nothing to see here.
Let's go straight over here.
I got past him. Waiting for the
That
camera to
guard
turn.
is really stupid. Yeah, I knew we were guy lorded there. What the hell?
What are we doing? Are we just running for it? Oh, okay.
I don't know what happened. That guard was like running when we were like, when I passed him. Oh, bro.
Yeah, almost had it.
Yeah.
We'll get it, guys. Don't worry. We'll get it.
All right, now stay calm. Back the way you came, through the checkpoint. Nothing to see here. Get in the cargo
Yeah, there we
elevator
go.
and use your key card. Play it cool. Okay, I need you to stay calm. They've seen what you did to the vault, and now the whole place is locking down fast. They know you're still in the building. Just keep moving and keep quiet. Time to change your outfits. We need a fresh start if you're gonna make it out of here under the radar. Very sharp. Now relax, channel your inner self-important douchebag, and waltz right through the front door. They're closing in on us. We need to pick up the pace. Security is sweeping the whole building. Stay one step ahead, or this whole thing goes south. As long as you stay calm, those outfits should get you from here to the exit.
Okay, good work,
the cops
everyone.
aren't letting anybody through the perimeter, so you'll have to do that the old-fashioned way. You're looking good, but don't push your luck. Stay away from the cops. You should avoid the bulk of the cops this way. The only thing that matters is making it to your ride.
Hey! Yeah.
Remember, they know the vault's been hit.
We're
but they
over
don't
here.
know who you
Oh, the
are
cars
or
are all the
where
way
you
back
are.
there.
They have
Yeah,
patrols
so we don't have to worry about
sweeping
those
the whole place,
cars.
and all the civilians
We can get
have
an
been
NPC
evacuated.
car.
So if they see you, they'll know it's you. So just stay out of their way, keep your cool, and get to the buyer. The driver has the getaway car in position. I've pinged you the GPS. Get to the buyer, don't bring the cops, and we're home free.
That's a 2-door right here. Alright, I got a 4-door right here.
Okay, just go for now.
Alright. We're following you.
Trying to lose the cops here. Helicopter, watch out. That was close. Man, when am I gonna lose these cops? It's taking too long. Yeah, it takes way too long to lose the cops. There we go. Okay, home free now.
Lose the cops. I knew this would be sweet. Liberating large amounts of
Alright, we just
private
lost the
equity
cop.
from private equity. That's something even the IRS has trouble doing. But you strolled out of there carrying their crown jewels right under their noses. The ultimate humiliation. Oh, I've taken a whole lot of scores, but none of them has been sweeter than this.
What is the least evil GTA protagonist in both trilogies? In the HD universe, probably Luis Lopez. In the 3D universe, I'd say Vic Vance. Hey, bro, it's my happy birthday. Well, happy birthday, Lundo. Happy birthday, man. Okay, we got this. What? I wonder why the NPCs always do that. Thank you, Anonymous, for the donation. Thank you, man. Okay, there we go. And let me make my final donation here on stream. I'm gonna donate another $100. And if you guys, anybody that could, if you guys could make a donation, it's to again, this charity does not go to the Turkish government or the Syrian government. If you guys are concerned about that, it has nothing to do with those governments. It's about it's Doctors Without Borders, which helps people directly in those regions, helps people who are suffering from the earthquake, and it helps get aid directly to the people. It helps doctors who are providing aid to people. And I think I'm gonna have to, yeah, I gotta do this because I get a copyright claim here. But I donated $100 just now. So if anybody could donate, it does help out a lot. Oh, thank you, Anton. Thanks. It's just really horrible what happened with that earthquake. Okay. Let's go with Michael here now. Chinatown Wars will be playing sometime in this month.
Hey!
Thank you, Savage.
See my face,
Acorn.
amigo?
Thanks, man.
Re-fucking-member it, I'm your goddamn
We're at
boss.
1,600. Yeah, we're at 1,600 donations so far. Thank you, everybody, for the support. It's helped out a lot. I don't know who that was that there diet. But I guess I'll be wrapping up the stream here, guys. I'll still answer a few questions, but if people want to ask me anything before I go, I'll still answer any questions people want to ask me before I go here. Thank you everybody for coming by the stream, and thank you everybody Thank you everybody who donated during the stream. It does help out a lot. I don't ever ask for donations unless it's for a charity stream, but if anybody could still give a donation, it does help out a lot. It helps out the people, in Turkey and Syria that are suffering from the earthquake. Again, if you're concerned, it's going to the governments of Turkey and Syria. It's going to directly to the people. It has nothing to do with the governments in those regions. What did I think of the Super Bowl? I didn't watch it. I'm not into that. I'll play an Assassin's Creed game sometime this year. Thanks for the charity, Pro. After seeing government do nothing, this really makes me happy. Well, thank you. Thank you, man. Not really, Yorker. But I guess we'll be wrapping it up here, guys. Polish/mercenary is my PSN. Well, I hope you guys like my videos. Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate you wearing the outfits. Makes you unique as a creator. Stands out. Keep up the great work. Thank you, British Joe. Yes, Vic does die in Vice City. Hogwarts Legacy streamers getting harassed? What? I didn't hear anything about this. Oh, thank you, Mark Leslie. Thank you for the donation. Thank you, man. Yes, and I'm going to play Mercenaries 1 again sometime this year, Marshall. Yeah, it is. My sleep schedule is back under control. Really like your suit, Pro. Thank you. But I guess we'll be going here, guys. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. And, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. And thank you, everybody who had donated. We raised nearly $1,700. And I'm going to have this charity campaign linked to my other videos. So thank you, guys, everybody, for hanging out. And thank you, guys, for stopping by. Hope you guys have a great week. I'm going to have a GTA Top 5 coming out soon. So sometime this week, and I'm working on my next lore video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed the stream. I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.